Systematize. A way to systematize this process step by step, because I'm kind of an engineering type. So it's like A, do this, B, do that, C, do that. And if I learn, once I'm told how to do that, I can adopt it and go forward. So I'm looking at that systematizing.
What, if anything, have you tried before?
None. I've been in the real estate world for a whopping 3 weeks. So
Okay.
and I think, but I do feel lucky having seen all these other people I feel lucky that I landed on this one without having to go through all the other learnings that everybody else has had. That's nothing compared to this. So I feel great about that.
Awesome. Thank you. What is the one thing that you've learned so far that would be your biggest takeaway from this event?
That I should probably. So we just recently, I was talking with Steve Warren, and he said, "What would you take away to replace with something here?" And it came to me right away. I should stop spending time 2 or 3 hours watching TV and news and stuff like that. That would be very helpful for me.
Awesome. So if someone were thinking about coming to one of these events, what would you tell them?
Run, don't walk. Come on, it's worth many times what you're going to pay for it. It's an investment.
All right, Matt. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
What was the one thing that stuck out about working with Nate and the team and Home Invest? What was just one thing that like made it really easy to deal with them, or one thing that you would say about Home Invest in general?
They really understand what things look like on our end. I think Nate has a long history of investing in real estate, and they understand what matters they understood what mattered to me when I was first buying, and really helped me throughout the entire process. So I can't, like I'm at a point financially, I'm really doing quite well, and I think Nate has a big part to do with it. He was really instrumental when I first started investing in real estate, and can't thank him enough. Honestly, incredible person, great business. I strongly recommend it.
Trying to figure out how to better manage my time and working towards putting a team together, because I know with where I'd like to go, we want to build this up within our family.
Awesome. What have you tried before?
Been doing buying houses and rehabbing, not to flip, but buy and hold. So I'd buy things and fix them up and hold on to them long-term as rentals.
What's the biggest takeaway you've gotten this meeting so far?
Getting some knowledge about how, really, I think some time blocking and getting some accountability. Some people I need we need to keep each other in check in on each other, and make sure we're staying on our targets instead of trying to do it all alone.
Awesome. If someone was thinking of coming to one of these events, what would you tell them?
If you're serious about it and you're really wanting to get into real estate at a level worth doing, by all means, the knowledge is power. And this is such a group of people that there's so much knowledge, and not just the knowledge, but genuine people who want to see you do well. Yeah, that's priceless. You can't put a price on that.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
You've seen what other people have had to say. Now it's time for you to put this stuff in action for you and for your family. We'll see you at the next event. Happy 2025. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So we got a good show for you today. This is the Opportunity Zone. If you're new to our world, I'm going to welcome up my co-hosts in just a second when I can find him. There he is. I'll welcome up Mr. Chris Lavin. Chris.
Howdy. Happy New Year, brother.
Hey, so here's what we get to cover today from a high level. We got a lot going on. We got a new deal, new opportunity. We also are going to talk about what's shaking in the office market world. Offices right now, have they turned the corner? Is it a good opportunity? Is it not? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about where to invest and what states to avoid. Okay, all of that and more as we go through this segment of the Opportunity Zone. Chris, is it cool with you? I'm going to jump in, just kind of show people how we do things here and open up with a prayer. Cool with you?
Do this.
It was so funny. I had my little boy, my 4-year-old boy. He asked me in the car yesterday. He said, "Dad, what does it mean to be someone that pretends and doesn't really make it. And I'm like, what are you talking about, John? He's like, well, that proverb that you read the other night, that proverb, what does that mean? And so what he was talking about is this one. It's Proverbs 12:9. Better to be a nobody and yet have a servant than to pretend to be a somebody and have no food. And it was so cool that he remembered that, a 4-year-old, like he remembered that from days before. So it's pretty cool to see that. But the next one right after that is something that I want to pray over everybody today. And it's Proverbs 12:11. And it's those who work their land will have abundant food, and those that chase fantasies will have no sense. So, dear Lord, I just ask that everybody here under the sound of my voice takes wisdom from this call, takes wisdom for their lives, and really opens up whatever you have in store for them for 2025. This is a great year. We've got a change in administration. We've got a change of policies coming in, economic, monetary, all kinds of things are out there. And we just ask that you bless people that are hearing this. You shoot them the vision and the mission that you want them to go on for 2025 to be prosperous. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Okay. So here's how this show works, guys. We're going to be going through different segments, headlines in the news. There's stuff on Federal Reserve interest rates, how it's going to affect you as investors. We're going to be going through some of the market shakeup that's happening, what states we're avoiding right now because of the shakeup that's happening. We're also going to be going through one of our opportunities. So I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to dive into the news, and then we're going to be going back and forth taking your questions that you might have. So let me go ahead and start with the opportunity that we have. And this is for all of you that are looking to get a fixed return, double digits, okay? If you've ever wanted to put your money in the way that the bank does, in a secure position, the safest that it's out there, the way that a bank does, then pay attention to this deal. This is Brinkman Tool and Die. So here at Home Invest, we primarily do multifamily real estate. We also take some industrial assets. This happens to be one right here. And you can get in on this deal as a potential lender, the same way that a bank does. And if you're wondering like, well, hey, how on earth, what is this thing function? This is a manufacturing facility that's been around for a long, long time, 60 plus years. They've been doing business for a while, and our team is purchasing this, and we purchased a bunch more earlier in the last couple of years. And what we've been doing is consolidating them under a brand name called American Precision Partners and operating them. We're eventually going to have enough of these coming in and cash flowing that we're able to sell to private equity. So in the time being, what we're doing is allowing lenders, someone like you, to come in and make a 10% fixed return with a secured position. If you're wondering like how that works and whatnot, we're literally allowing folks to come in and put a lien on either the real estate or a piece of machinery that's inside the shop. So these machines, they range anywhere from $100,000 in value up to $700,000 in value. If you want more information on that or this opportunity and how you can make potentially double-digit returns on it, up to 10%, then reach out to us. I'll put a link in the chat. You can book a call with us. This is for accredited investors only, but I'll put that link there for you guys right now. Oh, looks like Sue beat me to it. Super Sue, our senior advisor on the team, had it there already. Okay, now we get to jump into the fun stuff. Okay, cool. First, I want to pull up this. So what's happening right now with office space? So you guys have probably heard the news that when offices started to become vacant, we had basically this mass exodus of office space during COVID, and it became the new theme of work from home. Office prices started nosediving. And then on top of that, interest rates started going up. Insurance rates started going up, cost to operate started going up, and the office space sector has been in this tailspin ever since then. But I want to show a trend that's happening right now, and this is actually an article that comments on Peter Thiel, big Silicon Valley influencer, a lot of businesses that he's invested into. He's saying, and he's calling out in this whole article, that basically every Silicon Valley company that he's involved with and that he knows of, all the way from Facebook, Meta, to Amazon, they're shifting. They're requiring team members to come back to the office. No more work from home stuff. because they were finding that they were unproductive workers when they were working from home. So now everybody's getting pushed back to the office. And what his theory is that this is probably going to start to buoy office prices. Chris, what do you think? You bought and sold a lot of office space in your life. What do you think is going to happen with all this?
I truly believe that, you know, based on somebody that works from home who works more efficiently, because I'm one of those people that is focused when I'm working, that, you know, a small percentage of people are really working to their full potential at home. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of stuff going on. I believe that this is a good prediction. I believe that market prices are going to respond. And if this is the space you're in, or if this is a space you were interested in, now's the time to get in there. It's a very volatile market though, because what's going to happen is there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff coming on the market initially. It's going to be flooded. And then as the demand goes up and the reserves go down, then the prices are going to escalate. But it's a little bit too volatile for me. But I strongly believe that the values are going to increase.
So you're going to sit office space out. You're going to sit on the sidelines for this sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Just too volatile a market for me right now in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So those of you that are really into office space and you know that game, there could be potential a lot of opportunity for you. Here at Home Invest, we're going to sit that one out. Both Chris and I have been in the office game before, and we're just not seeing the numbers that attract us to want to get in. It's a little bit too much up and down. Okay. Next up, Chris, we're going to talk about Federal Reserve rates, and we're going to ask you to pull out your crystal ball.
Yep.
And make some predictions for us, because and maybe Chris, if I could ask you to do this in a 10th and 10-year-old terms, how do Federal Reserve rates affect us as investors? You hear about Jerome Powell pulling a lever, making them go up, making them go down. How does that actually play out and affect us as investors?
It's specifically in the multifamily space, the way it affects us as investors is that the value of a property is based on the NOI, or the net operating income. That's the amount of money that you take home after all the expenses are paid, and a cap rate. So if the rates go up, in order for us to service the debt, the value of the property has to come down, right? It's inversely proportional. We can't buy as big as we could before, pretty similar to the residential space, right? So as rates go up, you can only afford a certain amount of mortgage payment. So as rates go up, drives the prices down on multifamily real estate, which is why we've been so effective and so blessed to be able to get good financing, get good terms, and acquire some of these assets of these people that are in distressed situations that just can't service the debt that they currently have. So again, rates go up, property values go down, and that's when we take advantage, because it's got to switch at some point. And based on history, we're at that switch, so we're in a good place.
So let's dive into this article. This is all around, will the rates go up in 2025? Will they go down? The Fed chairman, he just came out at the last meeting and said, Jerome Powell said, we're going to cut twice in 2025.
Yep.
But he had a lot of variables in there. And the biggest variable that they're managing is inflation. Remember when he started jacking up interest rates a couple of years ago, he said, hey, we have to get inflation down to 2%. 2% is our annual target. And right now, according to their figures, it's around 3%. And so there's a chance that these rate cuts, they might not happen at all. Chris, your take on that?
All right. So my take on that, my concern about that, couple things. If the expectation of the general public or the general populace is that the Fed's going to cut rates and then they don't, that puts a lot of fear into the market, makes things very, very, very unstable. That's okay. If they don't cut rates, again, back to the scenario where if you're partnered with good operators and people who know how to handle these markets, right? Not just the guys that were making millions of dollars when interest rates were at 2%, but people that really know how to operate. I believe that it's not going to be as scary as it could be. And what do I mean by that? So us specifically, we have the ability to go out and get alternative financing. We work great deals. We secure great financing, and because of our history, we get the best rates available, even from the Feds. So if they don't cut rates, we'll be okay. If they do start to cut rates, values of properties are going to start going up. And that's going to be a good thing for us too, right? Because of our current holdings and our exit strategies. But you've got to be with people who've got experience to have maneuvered and been through these markets. People just starting out, man, we see the defaults in the market. It's just ridiculous because people can't refinance. So that's another thing, right? So now that people's loans are coming due, they have that NOI that they were making all that money on based on the 2% or 3% rates that they had. Those loans are now coming due, and that brings a lot onto the market, and banks are ended up with a lot of that stuff. Again, if you're a savvy operator, you know where to go get those deals, and we're going to get great deals at discounted prices because the banks can't hold all of that real estate on their portfolios because it's a little known fact, or people don't understand this. For every foreclosed mortgage that a bank has, they have to have twice the amount of money in liquid cash at all times to cover that asset by FDIC rules. So they want that stuff off their books as fast as possible. I just see opportunity. I just see opportunity because we've got the history and we know what we're doing.
So the scenario that could play out, that could create more of the environment that you're describing, Chris, is that rates just remain higher for longer.
Correct.
And that
it's gonna be paid.
Yeah. So all these folks that were thinking, oh, I'm just going to wait until rates come back down and then I'm going to be in a position to sell because it makes the value of my property go up when rates are down. Okay. Those folks that have been waiting for that day, they might not see that day. That day may never come, especially. Absolutely. Yeah.
Keep going.
So it's an opportunity for us. We get to jump in and keep buying.
Absolutely, and I believe that as the market if the market doesn't respond, the Fed doesn't respond instantly when we have a change in the regime, that there's going to be panic on the seller side, right? Oh, they're like, oh, I better get out now while I still can, or maybe rates are going to go up and my value is going to go down more. Again, more opportunities. Again, the opportunity to be smart and invest wisely in the right deals.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's more and more sellers that are starting to think that right now. In fact, on the residential side, this is not commercial, but it's still an indicator we can look at. Check this out, guys. Redfin just reported that there's a 33% uptick in people looking to schedule broker consultations to sell their house. That means there's more people that are running right now. They just got done with Christmas. They got done with New Year's. They're saying, it's time to sell. We better sell. And so that could happen as well with some of these folks that are holding on to these apartment buildings. They're looking around saying, okay, I thought rates were going to come down. I thought I could make my value bump up when rates are lower, but I can't. I just took a interesting. Go ahead, Chris.
Let's also point fingers at the people that signed up for these variable rate loans, right? Both residential and in multifamily. As these rates go up and they've got a variable rate loan after that first teaser interest rate. So now they can't make it work. They have to get out.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And this is compounded with all costs have increased in the space. Like you guys know from going to the grocery store, think about this. How much has milk gone up? How much have eggs gone up? And so costs of running properties have gone up a lot too. So this is the treasury yield right now and the federal funds rate. And it's high. It's high right now, higher than the last 5 or 10 years, but it's not high in perspective of the last 100 years. This is kind of in the normal zone if you average it over a 100-year period. But right now, I think that we just have to buckle down and get used to this. Get used to the phrase higher for longer. That's our outlook for 2025. So that means that we get to poach more good deals. There's more of them coming for us. And there's some folks in this article right here that they're literally speculating that there could be rate hikes in 2025. I don't believe that personally. Chris, I'd love your take on this. And it's mostly because you don't believe it?
I don't think there's going to be hikes based on this is not a political statement, but based on the current regime and where the new president's holdings are. He's in real estate. So I think that he's going to do his best to serve himself while he's serving the country.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that unemployment rates, they're teetering right now. They're not super high. They're still in the fours. But if all of us remember back in 2008, we went from 4 to 11% unemployment rate in an 18-month window. Like it literally was like snap of a finger. It went really, really fast. And I think the Federal Reserve is watching that closely right now. And since we're teetering on that borderline right now, I don't think they're going to bring rates any further north. They're not going to go up. I don't think so. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some, I'm going to call this craziness, but here's the reality. In the United States of America, just in the last year, there have been over 150 bills that have been aimed at rent control. I'd like to know from everybody here. Let me know in the chat, or if you're following us on social media online, let me know your thoughts. Are you for rent control? Just put yes. If you're not, put a no in the chat. I want to take a little informal poll from our investment community. For rent control, yes. If you're not for it, put a big no in the chat. So of these 150 bills, I like Jeff's answer, heck no. Of these 150 bills, there have been a couple that have actually taken ground. They're usually in blue states. We're not going to go political on you guys in this show, as Chris said, but usually in some of these blue states, they're able to come in and take effect a lot easier because they get support from other legislators. And one of the states is New York. New York just had one become official. They passed it last year, but it became official now. This is on top of a rent control environment. This is on top of you can't do Airbnb and short-term stays in a lot of sectors of New York right now, unless you have a special license for it. This is on top of that. They just came out with another one saying that the fee for leasing, if there is a tenant that hires a real estate agent to help them find an apartment, the fee now has to be paid by the landlord. That's 1 month's rent, 12 to 15% of the annual rent. Chris, what do you think happens with all of this rent control and fee after fee getting piled on the owner?
Man, it becomes brutal, right? Now the cost of operating has gone up significantly. Man, this is going to be hard to predict. I know that I won't buy in New York and California as a result of the rent control situations. I don't know how people operate. It seems like against everything that a country does.
Yeah, and on top of this is usually in a setting where it's already tight inventory. It's usually they don't have affordable housing, and they pass these laws usually under the name of this is going to give us more affordable housing, or it's going to give us more inventory. And usually what happens over time is the opposite. So again, not trying to go political on this, but for us here at HomeInvest, we are stewards of our investors' capital. And that means that we need to do right with it. We need to protect it. We need to grow it. And for us to go into an environment like a New York, it's just out of the question. We wouldn't do it. So these states that are stacking on more and more laws that are not favorable for the landlord, they're out for us. So if you guys want this article, it's on Multifamily Dive. You can literally look through the 150 laws that they are trying to pass right now. And the majority of them are in the blue states. So Oregon's in here, California's in here, Washington's in here. Those are states that we just won't do business in. We're sticking with states that we know we're going to protect our landlord clients. Okay, another interesting one. I actually went through that law. I won't read this word for word in here, but basically this law that just went into effect, it literally mandates that the owner will have to pay the commission, regardless if they hire the broker or if the tenant hires the broker. The owner now has to pay that commission 100% of the time. This is another one in Seattle. They just passed called First in Time. And this one's probably a little bit more fair, but it basically says that the landlord is obligated 100% to lease the property to the first qualified applicant that comes. They're obligated for it. This one's not as obnoxious as some of the ones in New York and whatnot, but it puts more onus on the owner, the landlord. It could potentially put them in a situation where maybe they got a bad gut feeling about somebody. I was interviewing contractors on Saturday, and I had 3 pretty good ones come through, good rapport, all that kind of stuff. And then the 4th one that came through, I remember I told Chris afterwards, I said, I didn't get a good feeling about that guy. And could you imagine if I had to pick one based on just the lowest bid, if I had to pick one that met the numbers and had to go with them, what could happen? You guys probably know and probably have had experiences working with a bad contractor before. Bad contractors can be a nightmare for you. The same is true with tenants. So the more laws that they pass like this, the more governance that they put into the rental property business, the harder it is for operators to operate. So we're steering clear. Chris, any thoughts on that?
No, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Cool. All right, last one here. And this is just an interesting holdings one. So we've got the richest men in America, 5 of them. This article right here, Market Watch, it depicts their real estate holdings. And it's funny, they chose the cover image on this one as Elon Musk. And interestingly, he only owns one piece of real estate. He owns a $400,000 house in Texas near the Starbase headquarters for Starlink. And he chose that one because it's close and you can see everything, and that's just what he calls home. He sold all of his multi-million-dollar real estate holdings to simplify his life. The other 4 out of 5 richest men in America, Jeff Bezos in here and others, they hold a lot of real estate right now. Chris, I know that you're you're not a tax professional. I don't know what nickname to give you, but you got into real estate specifically for the tax benefits. Why are these billionaires holding real estate?
Same exact reason, right? These guys are not only holding real estate, but acquiring real estate. Primary reason is to offset the income, or better phrase, hold on to more of the dollars that they're earning using tax loopholes. The tax loopholes come from, accelerated depreciation, bonus depreciation, and depreciation of these assets. So that's the cool thing. So they're staying in real estate, they get the natural appreciation of the real estate, get that income, and then they, on the flip side of that coin, they get all of that bonus, the tax bonuses, where they don't have to give half of their money to the federal government that they're earning, because they're playing this smart, they're utilizing the tax code, and let's be honest, they help influence what the tax code looks like. So it's a double-edged sword for them, or they get it both sides of the coin. Great income, great tax benefits, and they get to keep it. And the cool thing about the tax code, if you play the game correctly and do everything by the letter of the law, you can defer those taxes till the day you die. And if you defer those taxes to the day you die, they then get reset to 0, and there's 0 tax liability on those assets, and they stay in the trust, or they go to your ears as with that tax basis erased. So that's how you beat the game.
Chris, maybe you can put this in real terms. I know that you've got a client that you've been helping with a long time. They usually put $1 million into each of your deals that you bring forward. Why do they do it? Like, what does that $1 million actually buy them? When they put $1 million into the property, what can they potentially save in taxes and get for cash flow?
That's a great question. And again, I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a CPA. I can only talk about my experience and the things that I actually do on a day-to-day basis. So if they put $1 million into a deal, usually they'll get anywhere from 30 to 50% of that money back as depreciated losses on their K1. So what does that mean? That means if they put the $1 million in, then they get back $300,000 to $400,000, let's say, or even as much as $500,000 that they write off the top of their passive income earnings on their tax returns. So they don't pay taxes on that. So think about that. Not only still have that $1 million, they're getting preferred returns on it. They're getting the great IRRs, but at the same time they get that chunk taken off of their income, and they don't have to pay taxes on it. So just think about the benefits of that. That's absolutely amazing. There's no other way to do it except in real estate. I mean, you go buy an airplane and get similar tax depreciation, but you don't get the earnings off of the airplane. There's a whole bunch of things you can buy using accelerated and bonus depreciation. But real estate's the only asset where you'll continue to get appreciation, the depreciation, and cash flow.
Cool. Let me dig into one more angle on this, Chris, with you.
Yep.
So you've sold several companies in your life. You're
Yep.
in the present tense structuring another potential sale.
Yep.
The tax ramifications for you, to my understanding, that's what drove you to real estate.
Correct.
Now, back to real estate, I should say.
Correct.
For you, how do you look for this to be the shield? You talked about, depreciation and things like that, but for the average person that maybe they're selling something right now, or they sold something and they have a potential gain, what should they do to get that tax shield?
They should get rid of that money as quickly as possible. What do I mean by that? So put it into, for me, I selected real estate because it's not only the thing that I had the most experience with, but I also understand that what happens is the bonus depreciation, accelerated depreciation that I spoke about. So because I have familiarity with that, it just made super sense. You got the cash, you're going to pay taxes on it, or you put it into an asset that will give you the tax advantages. So if you're in the process of an exit, if you're in the process of coming across some cash, some gain somehow, we want to minimize your tax exposure to the government. Best way to do it, put it into a piece of real estate. And the best way to get into real estate, unless you want to be an operator, is a syndication deal.
Yeah. 10-4 confirmed on that. That's what a lot of our investors, they've tried operations before on real estate. Real estate, like, it's sexy, it's fun, but there is work. Let's just be clear about that. There is work. And so when Chris is saying come into a syndication deal, that means let operators who professionally operate do their job, and you come in as a passive investor. That's probably the biggest distinction that I want to make, because a lot of folks, when they think about real estate, they think about broken toilets, tenants, challenges, things like that. That's why you partner with people. That's why you enter a syndication. You be the passive investor to pick up the tax benefits and the cash flow and the appreciation on that real estate. Okay, Chris, I'm going to circle back to the opportunity that we have, and then we're going to flip this over for questions and any other comments and thoughts that you have on the day. Those of you that are looking for an investment opportunity, we just opened this one up. This is a manufacturing facility where you can come in and be a lender. You can be the bank. Just like the bank, you can get a first position loan, either on the real estate or on equipment that this business owns. It's a manufacturing facility. It's in Ohio. This thing is dominating. It has Department of Defense contracts. It's got a lot of cash flow coming in every single month. And if you're wondering, like, how on earth does all of this fit together? We acquired 6 of these shops. I'm going to call them that, machine shops, manufacturing facilities, seeing the trend in industrial doing very well. We also noticed that whenever the Trump administration uses the word tariff, it scares people into manufacturing at home. Why? Because they would pay a lot of tax extra if they have it manufactured offshore and then shipped here. So ever since the Trump administration was reelected just a couple months ago, we have seen orders go up a lot in our existing manufacturing facilities. So we're acquiring this next one in Ohio. It's doing really, really well. All of them that we've acquired so far have been doing very, very well. Literally, we've increased the top line. These are numbers from one of the facilities. We've increased the top line numbers by 20% year over year, while also increasing the bottom line numbers. So bottom line means net profit. How much money is actually coming back to investors and partners in the deal? We've nearly doubled that net profit on the 6 that we already have just in the last couple of years. And a lot of it is because this demand is happening. So if you're looking to potentially be a lender on a deal where you can be the bank and you can make a fixed 10% return, this opportunity is open. It's inside of what we call cash flow fund number 7, where we own these facilities. This is so cool to me. Like, I kind of geek out on this, but most of these sellers, they're mom and pop operators. They don't understand like business systems. They understand how to manufacture and how to make a good product, but they don't know marketing. This is the website of the one that we're proposing right now. Literally, they've been around for 100 years, but they haven't updated the website probably since early 2000. They didn't have a CRM. That's a customer resource manager where you have your sales team members work out of. They didn't have that. They don't have a management software which manages the production and the flow. It's literally they take orders and staple it to the wall. When we get into these businesses, we do those things. We update them, we modernize them to make them actual businesses. And so it's pretty cool, the transformation that happens after that. So again, if you're looking for a potential double-digit return, 10% fixed, where you get monthly payments sent to you, then use the link that's in the chat, book a call with us, If you're following us on social media and you don't see the link, just put the word call in the comments and we'll make sure we get you over a link. Chris, anything that you'd like to cover to close this out? And if there's any questions that you guys have, go ahead and fire away as well.
No, I'm good. I think we hit it all. Again, if you're looking to get some great tax advantages and to get some great income and some great appreciation, real estate's the way to go. And syndication is the easiest way to get into real estate.
Cool.
Looks like
Cool.
Lydia has her hand raised.
Hi, Lydia. Do you have a question? Maybe. Jeff, you got a question? Let's see. We'll just get you unmuted.
There we
Hi,
go.
Jeff.
You can hear me now? Hey there.
There we
Um,
got you.
Well, one thing I had was a comment on your rent mandates there. It happened in New York, and in Oregon we've had a lot of talk about rent controls and whatnot. And what they've done is put a cap on the amount you can raise rents on somebody. And so what that's done for a lot of folks like me, mom and pop landlords, I've been in this with my dad for years, with his properties and whatnot. We always held our rents down, to keep a tenant in for a long time. He wanted them to pay the rent and pay the mortgage, basically. He wasn't looking in for big gains. But now you've got to increase the rent every year because of the cap they put on it. And they make it hard for you to increase it once you replace the tenants. So then you just fall behind. So it forces you as a landlord to raise the rents every year as a mom and pop, which is something we never used to do. You'd raise it when you got a new tenant, you bring it up to market rates, and then you'd have a good relationship with your tenants you had. And they're doing away with that. And it's making it so it's just corporate investors that come in and can afford to maintain this stuff. So it's really hard. And that's why I've got a house I've got to sell this year that my mom had. It was the last property my mom and dad had, and she just passed away. So if anybody wants a single family home in Northeast Portland, I got one for sale. I love the syndications you guys do. I'm looking forward to getting involved in more.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure working with you. I appreciate your comments too, man. Cool. On that note, we will close out for this week. We'll see you guys. We've got a couple more shows this week. Tomorrow night, we've got a webinar on wealth building. And then on Friday, this week is the pipeline call. Those of you that want to see what's coming up soon, be sure to be there on Friday. Watch your email inbox.